Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR HaLacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Friday, the 9th day of November, and it is also the first day of the month of Kislev, Rosh Chodesh. So remember to say all of your Rosh Chodesh additions. We're continuing on in the complicated issue of what to do when eating cake for dessert. We had taught you that the halacha is that desserts get their own separate bracha because they're not part of the meal. You usually don't eat dessert because you're hungry. It's just some sweet thing that kind of finishes off the meal. But the thing is with cake is, sometimes resembles bread and maybe it should be, swallowed up inside of the bracha of the hamotzi that you made at the beginning of the meal. So there's a giant debate as to whether cake dessert should get its own bracha of mazonos or whether you should just rely on the hamotzi of the meal. That's the quick recap of what happened so far. So the Mishnah Berurah says that the only time that you should really consider something mazonos for dessert is when it's the for sure pas above a kisnin category, and when it's really in that category of what the rabbis called pocket bread. That would be something like pie with filling inside of it, fruit filling or that kind of thing. Those would be more likely to get a real mazonos at the end of the meal. But most other cakes, this is what the Mishnah Berurah says, are so similar to bread that their hamotzi, the hamotzi on the bread, covered for that cake. So according to that ruling of the Mishnah Berurah, most of the cakes that you eat at dessert would not need their own separate bracha. Rav Moshe, on the other hand, says that when flour and water are not the majority ingredients in a cake, which is a lot of the cakes that we eat today, where flour and water are not the majority of the ingredients inside, so then mazonos is recited at dessert. So you could see then our cakes of today, Rav Moshe is kind of saying that yes, we do say a bracha on them at dessert. The Mishnah Berurah was implying that a lot of the cakes of today we don't make a mazonos at dessert. So the conclusion of the book I'm getting a lot of this knowledge from is this one right here. It is the halacha discussion by Rabbi Daniel Yehuda Neustadt. And his opinion is that on a complicated matter like this, cake at dessert, it would be a good idea for you to ask your rabbi. And he can help you decide based on what you're eating at your dessert commonly and whether you should make a bracha on the cake of your dessert or not. If you have no custom or you're not sure, the safest thing is to not make a bracha on the cake that you eat at dessert. However, I'm sorry to make it a drop more complicated. If when dessert comes, you didn't really enjoy the main course and you still really are a little hungry and you want to down 2 or 3 pieces of cake because you're still hungry and you want to fill yourself, then clearly no mazonos would be needed because then it's really part of your meal. Okay? So when you're eating cake because you're still hungry, then it's clearly part of your meal and no mazonos. And lastly, things like waffles, pancakes, and kugels, they're not like bread at all, and they would require mazonos when eaten for dessert if you're already full and you're not really completing your meal. But remember that rule of thumb. If at dessert you're eating that cake or that waffle or that kugel because you're still hungry and you're completing the meal, it's part of your meal, then it's more likely that it does not need its own bracha. Sorry for that complication, but you could see it is a complicated topic. Speak to your rabbi if there's a lot of cake or something at your desserts and what he feels you should be doing for yourself. Thanks for logging on, and log on again tomorrow for more. Have a good Chodesh, have a good Shabbos, and we'll give you more on the other side of Shabbos. Bye-bye.